Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawin coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Today we got a special treat. The other day when Matt was on the show, he was told he was trying to tell the story the best he could about his friend Steven, who had a dogman encounter with 3 dogmen. So I imagine you probably remember that story. But I've got Steven on the phone, and he's going to tell it firsthand himself. So, without further ado, hello, Steven. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Now, first off, I don't know what it was. I don't want to put a name on it, a dog man or anything like that. The closest thing I could come up to it was, like, researching the internet was like a skinwalker or something like that. But this is what happened. It was about 10 o'clock in the afternoon. I had been living in Matt's woods for about 2 years. So it's about 19 acres of woods, and I'd been living out there for about 2 years.
Where at now?
This is it's at the edge of Beach Park in Zion, Illinois, out by the lake, by Lake Michigan.
All right.
Like 5 minutes from the lake or something like that. So, but it's all like, real old area, Indian territory. I grew up in a haunted house there. Like, seen a lot of weird stuff up there, but nothing that compared to this. So what happened is I got up. It was about 10 o'clock in the afternoon, beautiful day, sunny day out, and I called Matt and I asked him if he wanted to meet on the trail and hang out. He said, sure. So I get out of my tent and I start walking down the trail. There's a main trail that cuts across his property, the 19 acres. It goes from one side to the other. I was walking down the main trail, and there's an S in the trail, and as I'm coming around the S in the trail, there's a guy coming towards me, and we seen each other at the same time. He was wearing like a gray and blue jersey, and we seen each other at the same time, and he got scared and startled or whatever, and he jumped off the main trail and ran off into the woods. Well, I thought it was Matt, like, playing games with me. So I ran around to try to cut him off, and I couldn't find anybody. So I call Matt, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, you out in the woods? He's like, no, I answered my house phone, so I'm clearly not in the woods. I was like, well, somebody's out in the woods running around. We need to get out here and figure out who it is. So Matt comes out there, and we're searching, and I go back where, I first seen him, and where he ran off to, we can't find anything. So we start walking back, and at the same spot where I seen him the first time, where he jumped off the main trail and ran off into the woods, we stopped and we looked down off into there, and there's a deer path, and about 30 feet, if that, like not very far at all, there's a naked guy crouched in the bushes, and he's not hiding. Like, you can see it. Like, there's plenty of day. There's a naked guy just kind of crouched down in the bushes, and I looked at Matt and I said, Matt, is that a naked guy in the bushes? And Matt said, yeah, it's a naked guy in the bushes. And I said, well, what do we do? And he said, I don't know. What do you want to do? You want to charge him? And I said, all right, I guess so. So as soon as we say to go to charge this guy, because this is Matt's property, it turned into like a gray cloud of smoke. And the top popped out deer head, and the bottom popped out deer legs, and the gray smoke disappeared, and it was just a fawn standing there staring at us. And I looked at Matt and I said, I'll see you later. And he went home. I went back out to my area. And then what we did is I called him and I told him, draw a picture of what you seen before you seen the deer. Okay, don't talk about it, just draw a picture of it. So we both drew a picture. And the picture was exactly the same. A naked guy crouched down in the bushes. But the picture was mirrored. I seen the guy facing one way. He seen the guy facing another way. So I don't know, if it was playing mind tricks on us, or it was, how it was disguising itself, made us still see it, in different ways. I have no idea. But once it turned into a deer, we just, we didn't know what to do. And then it just walked away, and that was the end of it. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, okay. I thought he told a story about someone seeing 3 dogmen. So you was with him when he saw the deer thing.
Yeah, I was the guy who saw the deer, man. I don't know nothing about no dog man.
Okay. It must have been something else. Maybe I've gotten the emails confused, because I think I interviewed a couple people, and I think I maybe got the story changed up. So you think maybe this thing was able to project a certain image to both of you differently?
Well, see, the first thing that gives me the idea that it was able to play with my mind is when I first seen the guy, when it was still a person wearing clothes, he was wearing a gray and blue jersey. Me and Matt have been best friends since we were little kids. And when we were little kids, he always wore the same gray and blue jersey. So when I first seen this guy walk around the corner, that's the first thing that came to my mind is it's Matt. So I didn't immediately take chase. You know, he was able to take off running and get away because I was confused. I thought it was my friend Matt. Well, Matt hasn't owned that jersey since we were kids, but I hadn't thought about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but
so I think it was just able to like play with our mind and disguise itself, and just it didn't seem like it wanted to have anything to do with anybody. And I didn't fear it or anything. It just seemed like it wanted to get the hell away from us.
Did Matt see him wearing the clothes too when you first
No,
saw it?
I was by myself. No, I was by myself when I first saw it. That's why I originally thought it was Matt.
But then
at that time, it was still just a guy. That was just a guy I saw, and I thought it was Matt, so I called him, and then it wasn't Matt. And then when Matt came out there to help me find the guy, it's when we seen that naked guy turn into a deer.
I wonder why he had clothes on, and then all of a sudden he didn't have clothes on.
Well, I think the main reason for that was to keep me from chasing it, because like I said, is he made me see him as an image of clothes that I'm used to seeing Matt wear. So I immediately just thought it was Matt. So I didn't do anything. I just stood there. And then he took off, was able to take off running before it, dawned on me to go, chase after him.
Yeah. And then when you went and seen him in the bushes, he was naked.
No, when we seen him in the bushes, he was butt naked and dirty and like crouched over. I thought it was his neighbor had gotten drunk and, was wandering around out in the woods, and, it wouldn't have been the first time. But when we got close enough to see who it was, I couldn't recognize the person, and then it just turned into a freaking deer.
Was it a full-grown deer, or did it walk off on all four?
It was on all four. It was a complete deer. There was nothing odd about the deer at all. Once it turned into a deer, it was just a regular, female deer, like a fawn. It wasn't massive. It wasn't a buck. Didn't have no horns or anything. Just like a fawn.
And you watched it transform right before your eyes.
Yeah, right before my eyes. We watched it turn into a gray cloud of smoke, and a deer head popped out of the top, legs popped out of the bottom, the smoke disappeared. It looked at us for a few seconds and then just walked away.
Wow, man, that's freaky, dude. Man,
yeah, I mean, I've seen some strange stuff, you know what I mean, but nothing compares to that. It just sounds stupid. It doesn't even make sense. I haven't told that story to many people. It sounds absolutely bizarre, but that 100% happened. I swear to God on my kids, I seen a naked man turn into a deer in front of my eyes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I believe you. I've heard of skinwalkers, people doing that in Native American culture.
Yeah, see, and the reason I went with that theory right there, the skinwalker and the Native American thing, is because that whole area, Beach Park, Zion, all that, is Cherokee territory from back in the day. Every time we would build a house or a garage, you'd be digging up arrowheads and rocks carved into buffaloes, and there's a lot of burial grounds got obviously destroyed because they turned it into a massive town.
Right. I mean, that's really...
It does have the history.
I mean, I never would have thought it would turn into smoke first, and then out of that smoke pops the creature. That's interesting.
It was definitely turned into like a gray, misty cloud of smoke. Like you couldn't see the transformation. You know what I mean? It kind of just turned into a gray cloud of smoke, and then the deer head popped out, and the deer legs popped out, and the smoke went away, and it was just a solid deer. Kind of just stood there for a second and turned around and walked away. And I mean, I didn't know what to say to him. I just told him I'll see you later.
Was you scared to go back in them woods anymore after that?
I was scared to go back in the woods at nighttime because of a few things that happened out there. But that particular, whatever that was, I wasn't scared of it. It gave me no fear whatsoever. There was just nothing to be afraid of, you know what I mean? Kind of just wanted to let you know it just wanted to leave and wanted me to leave it alone.
Right. It would be scary though to go out there at night, I imagine. If with something
Yeah,
like that can happen.
yeah,
Turn
yeah,
into a
yeah,
lion.
definitely.
Turn into a lion or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Man, dude,
That
that's
was probably the
crazy.
most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen, quite a few things and some
What other
ghosts and stuff like that.
what other kind of strange stuff have you seen?
Well, growing up in that neighborhood, I lived in a house, a real old house, and that house was just so haunted it wasn't even funny. You could just sit in the living room and just listen to people walk back and forth, people calling your name all the time. I used to hear women screaming and stuff in there. One time I was walking to Target, where they just opened a new Target, and they have video game systems there where you could test the games out, and we didn't have no game system, so me and my brother were walking up to the Target, and it's kind of a cloudy day out, and I don't know why, but I just happened to look up, and above us is a solid black triangle just sitting there, not moving, not making a noise, doing nothing, and then a cloud passed over it, and I never seen it again.
A what was sitting in a triangle?
A solid black triangle up in the sky, floating above us about 200 feet.
Dang.
But this is, there's an airport right there. I've seen a lot of weird stuff by that airport. It's a, private airport right there on the corner of Wadsworth and Lewis.
Yeah. I mean, when living in a house that you have, haunted activity going on, that had to be kind of scary at night, wouldn't it?
It was more irritating than anything. I really didn't see anything that was scary. It was at nighttime. It was just a lot of walking up and down the stairs. Like you would just hear somebody walking up and down the stairs all night long. It would wake me up every night almost. And a couple times I yelled at it, I gotta go to school in the morning. Stop. And then it would stop for a few months. You wouldn't hear anything, and then it would start back up, and I'd yell at it again, and it would stop. But it never really bothered me. I was more scared of the outside. I heard that woman screaming out in the backyard one time, and I thought it was like some lady out in the neighborhood in trouble, but it just kept getting closer and closer and closer until it was screaming in my ear, and I couldn't see anything, and that was just terrifying.
Dude, no doubt. And it sounded like it was coming from the woods and then coming towards you then, you saying?
Yeah, it was coming from the woods. I got a little acre of woods that was behind my house up there, and it was coming from the woods. So I just figured, maybe somebody's out there in trouble. And so it started getting closer and closer and closer, and I couldn't see anything. And it was screaming in my ear, and I still couldn't see anything.
Huh. I mean, I know that sometimes a Sasquatch will scream. You think maybe it could possibly be something like that?
I don't know. It's such a small little. I was surprised to even see that deerman in such a rural area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That 19 acres is like the biggest section of woods in the area. We really, we do have the state park that's down there, but it only runs along the lakefront. You know what I mean? So it's odd that something like that would be still living around that area.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Wow. Well, man, that's some bizarre stuff. Now, that triangle thing, what the heck do you think that was?
Well, we see all the time on all those space shows and stuff, and spaceship shows about the black triangle and stuff. But every time I've seen, a show about it, they say they got a light at each corner and all that stuff. But this thing was just a solid black triangle. There was no lights, there was no circles, there was no nothing. It was just a solid black triangle hovering above us a couple hundred feet. And then the cloud passed over it, and I never seen it again.
Is it a military base or something near you?
Well, it's a private airport. It's where celebrities keep their planes and their vehicles, and when the presidents and stuff like that go to Chicago, that's the airport they use. It's just a private airport, so they do have a lot of privately owned military stuff, but it isn't like a military base. But then in Waukegan or North Chicago, which is like a half an hour away, you got the Navy base.
Right. Okay. Well, it might be from some, one of those places. Did it look like it was an aircraft? Like it was?
No, there was no wings. There was nothing. It was just a solid black triangle. It was close enough to tell that it was not a plane and it was not moving.
Huh. Maybe it's some kind
and
of
it wasn't making a sound.
maybe it's some kind of portal thing or something. Man, that's
Yeah, I have no idea.
right.
It was weird. And I was young. I was probably like 12 or so when I seen that.
All right. And well, if you got any other kind of strange things you want to tell, you'd be glad to hear it.
Well, if I could think of any more, I'm sure there's plenty of them growing up where I grew up. I've seen quite a bit of different stuff, but I'm in the middle of grilling right now.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming and telling your stories there, and I'm sure that it'll be interesting to people to hear it. So
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me tell a story. I've been trying to figure it out. I'd love to know what in the heck I saw. You know what I mean? It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, and I can't find anything to compare it to.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You know what I
it
mean?
sounds to me like a skinwalker type thing. So for some reason, there's something lingering around there having to do with the past activity that goes on there. That's my opinion, you know.
Yeah, and the 19 acres that I was living on, that's property. Now that place was real high. You'd have ghost cars and stuff. You'd hear him driving through the driveway. We'd be standing in his backyard, hanging out at nighttime, and would have rocks being thrown at us from the woods and stuff. And we would run out there and try to find who it was, and we wouldn't find anybody. And Matt's house was pretty bizarre. I've seen a shadow creature at his house twice.
Dang. Oh, yeah, those are scary, dude. I've seen those before. I had one time. Sorry. I had a cigar and a piece of tobacco just went down my throat. But
that's all right.
But anyway, I was in it was when I was still with Dana. She kicked me out of bed because I was snoring too much, and she needed to get up in the morning. so I went in the living room and kicked back in the recliner, and I was going to I was tossing around trying to get comfortable in this recliner, and I had it leaned back and stuff, spread out to where I could lay down in the recliner, and I shut my eyes for just like maybe 10 seconds, and I opened my eyes up trying to get comfortable again, and there was this black shadow being bent over like a foot from my face, staring at me. And
oh yeah.
And the thing was that I'd seen a shadow person before, and I thought it was more like smoky something, because I think it was. But this one, I seen skin. His eyes were like a yellowish white. It had pretty big eyes. They were yellowish white pupils, and then the white around it, and the skin was so black it was almost hard to see it, but I could see little wrinkles and stuff in his skin, like it was a solid creature, and it freaked me out real bad, and I jumped back in the recliner, and the recliner tipped backwards over, and I rolled out onto the floor, and I jumped up, and it was gone. But yeah, I mean, he was standing there right there above me, hovering. And
it's real close to what happened with me. I was at Matt's house again. This is at Matt's house. It's the middle of the night, and he was sleeping on the couch, and I was laying on the recliner, and I kept seeing orbs flying all over the place, or little balls of light and stuff like that. And I looked next to me, and it was probably like 3 feet tall. It was just a black shadow creature just sitting there and just stared at me for hours. I could not move. I was absolutely terrified. And then another time, it was at nighttime, and I was outside of Matt's house, and I came walking around the back corner, and it was staring in the back window. And when I came around the corner, it took off running to these garbage cans a couple feet away, and I ran over there, and there was nothing there.
Dang. Man, I wonder what it was doing. Sounds like it's something that is around there often, if you've seen it more than once.
Yeah, it was looking through the back kitchen window. It was weird.
Was it looking from outside, looking in the house?
Yeah, from outside. First time I seen him was inside the living room, and the second time I seen him was outside the house in the back.
My goodness. Huh. Did it look solid or smoky?
It was. Well, I had the lights off and everything. It looked solid to me, but I couldn't say I seen skin or eyes or anything like that. It was just a solid black figure.
Yeah, because, I mean, the other time I saw one, it was when I had the Darrow encounter, and he looked like a solid black mass, but he didn't have any eyes or anything like that that you could see. So that second time I saw one and seen eyes on it, that really made me
terrifying.
wonder what the heck, man. See the king of shadow people or something.
Right, a demon or something. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was something demonic. And
right
at the time, I was studying some stuff about Hitler for a video that I was going to do. I can't even remember what it was about now. I think it was about the wands and staffs and stuff like that they.
Yeah, he was real big into all of that stuff.
Yeah, I was reading that, and I figured maybe because I was reading that, it attracted that thing. Because Hitler was into some evil stuff, man.
Oh yeah, he knew all about the ley lines and all that, trying to get all the ancient relics and stuff and get all that power. He knew what was going on. He was into some evil stuff, the bell and all that.
Yeah, and the Thule Society and all that kind of. Yeah, they're into that stuff. You imagine people like them; they probably see stuff like that all the time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. They keep that portal open, and you keep just doing stuff like that.
When I was a little kid, my mom had this one friend that was a fortune teller. She, could read tarot cards and all that kind of stuff, and she was good at it too. Now but I knew there's something just not right about that kind of stuff, and we went to her house one time, and her house was smoky, dude, and it had bats in it and everything.
What the hell?
No, man, I didn't want to go in. I stayed outside, and it's like, oh, you go ahead, Mom. I was just a kid, about 9, 10 years old. And it's like,
when I was a younger kid, my mom worked for a witch that lived in Zion, and she said she opened her closet, and she had like one of them crystal balls in there and a book, and she said she tried to pick the book up to look at it, and she couldn't move the book. And she went and she got her preacher, and they went to go drive over to the house, and when they started getting close to the house, the car door started locking up and down real fast. So when they left, and when they got away from the house, it stopped doing it.
Man, see, that's evil powers right there. Powers of darkness.
She stopped working for her. And definitely satanic.
Yeah. I don't know how people like that sleep at night, because they've got reptilians and shadow people and all that kind of stuff, and I've interviewed people that seen reptilians before, and it sounds pretty scary to me, to see something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fun.
Yeah, well, but I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but
yeah, I am a Christian.
Yeah, so whenever you see that kind of stuff, that's when you pray. Even since when I first moved to this apartment, I was in bed one night, and my bedroom door slammed, and I could hear footsteps coming across real fast across my room, and it hit me like a wind, man. My hair blew back and everything, and I went to praying instantly. I was like, man, what the heck was that? Something trying to attack me in my room.
Yeah.
So I had to clear this apartment out, and I anointed everything and prayed over it, and I haven't had any issues like that since. Because you don't know what people do in the places that you live. If it's not a new home.
No. The house that I grew up in, like I was telling you, is real haunted and stuff. Well, my mom and my dad and everybody were teenagers, like a bunch of idiots. They played with a Ouija board up in my bedroom, and it told my Uncle Deanie, it just said die 17, and he died of a heart attack 17 years later at 33.
Wow.
And like all kinds of weird stuff happened since then, but I think that's what opened up the portal in that house, was them playing with that Ouija board, because you can open that door and you just can't close it again.
Yeah. I think I interviewed someone that messed with a Ouija board and then ended up with one of them possessed. Yeah, it was a couple. His wife messed with the Ouija board, and she ended up possessed. They messed with it once, and some freaky stuff happened. So he's like, "Nah, we ain't doing this no more." And he kept catching his wife in the back of the bar they owned, messing with the Ouija board by herself. And then one night they were in bed. She started talking in some strange voice and freaked him out. You know, it's like, man, can't be having a lady talking in a strange voice like that. You know?
Yeah, I'm good on all that. Yeah, you don't want to mess with the Ouija board. You don't know the powers that you can bring out with those things.
Yeah. I had a friend that messed with it one time, and he put his hand on the thing, and it shot across the room, you know, and he said, "I ain't playing with one of those ever again."
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can open up satanic doors, and people that don't believe in that kind of stuff, they just have never seen something, you know, before.
Right. Yeah, just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it ain't going to get you eventually.
Yeah. You go mess with a Ouija board, and you might be a believer real quick.
Oh, yeah. 100% stay away from those.
Yeah. First time you go to bed and all of a sudden you have another entity in your room, you'll be believing that.
Right.
Like the Darrow. I don't know if you ever watched my Darrow video. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
It's the humanoid. Like when you go to my channel, you'll see a picture of like this human-looking guy sitting in a chair, and he has this long nose.
Yeah, I have to go check it out. I ain't seen that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, dude. He came in my room when I was living in Texas, and he had like this little wand-like thing, about the size of a grill lighter, and he stuck it to the side of my head, but something intervened, man, and roared at it off to my right, man, and a doorway opened up, and there's a shadow person in it, like the being had a hold of me. Arm twisted behind my back. He stuck the thing to the side of my head, and then I looked forward, and like this doorway opens up over in the corner of my room, and a shadow being walked into the doorway, and he was backlit because there was light on the other side, and I could see this shadow figure real good, and he started shape shifting, like contorting. He didn't change from a human figure, but it was like all of a sudden his knees were bent the wrong way, and his arms elongated, and his fingers, and you know, it was all creepy looking. And yeah, and then there was something that roared, and it was from off to my right. And it was like roar. I mean, it was huge roar, like 10 times of a tiger, you know, or a lion. It was massive.
Right.
And that shadow being leaned back, and he looked over there to his. It would have been his left because he was facing me. It freaked him out, and the thing that had a hold of me, he let go of me, and they both took off, man. So I think the roar had to have been something good because it wouldn't have protected me. Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my mind would be like an angel or something like that. I mean, they speak of God and Jesus and all that as a great lion.
Right. Lion from the tribe of Judah, yeah. And sometimes when Moses was at the mountain, you know, the mount where he got the Ten Commandments, God would sometimes speak, and it would scare the people. They were like, "No, you go talk to him." You know, they heard it like thunder and stuff, you know, and roar, and so I guess you know the sound that Moses was hearing was different from what they heard. So, you know. I just figured it was God intervening. So it was either an angel or the Lord Himself or something. But
something like that.
He basically said, "No, you ain't," because I hear that the other stories where those long nose beings, they basically abduct people and they take them underground. And
my uncle, when that house that I grew up in, like I said, that's what I meant to tell you a minute ago. They played with the Ouija board and all that stuff. Well, when my mom and them were all still kids living in that house, they were playing in my grandparents' room. My mom, my Uncle Deanie, and my Uncle Matt. And something grabbed my Uncle Deanie by his legs from under the bed and started dragging him under the bed. And my mom and my other uncle were trying to pull him out, and my grandparents had to come in, and it took all of them to fight him back out from underneath that bed. He had like scratches on his legs and everything.
Dude. When they start getting physical like that, it's time to quit and pray.
Yeah, you can only imagine what would have happened if they couldn't get him back out from under that bed.
Yeah, they might have took him to another, another dimension or something. Wow, that's
right.
He's
You
lucky.
never know what's out here.
He's lucky to have somebody that was willing to grab him and pull him out under the bed.
Yeah,
I've seen stuff like that on TV, man.
Another time, me and Matt were walking, the guy that I seen the deer guy with, we were in the same woods that happened in, and it's the middle of the summer, and we're walking through he's got different sections of the woods. He's got the field, the pines, and then the bad woods. We call them the bad woods just because they're real creepy, and they're mostly dead, and it's just, there's something odd about it, you know what I mean? So we're walking through the bad woods, and we come across probably a 20-foot circle. This is the middle of summer, a 20-foot circle of snow in the middle of the woods, and you could literally feel the wall of cold when you stepped into the snow from, off the regular ground and onto the snow. You could feel the barrier when you walked into it. It was so bizarre.
And it was in the summertime?
Yeah, it was the middle of summer.
Whoa. Huh. Dang,
it was like, I don't know, some sort of portal or what it was, but it definitely was like 2 inches of snow on the ground in this one spot, and it was only there for a day. It was gone the next day.
Man, you dead darn right. That's a creepy forest to have that. That sounds like a portal to me. That might be where them things are coming from and going to.
Yeah, I'd hear like music in the woods and stuff. One night, this right here, this made me absolutely terrified to go back out in those woods. Me and Matt one night were hanging out at my tent in the woods, okay, and we were drinking. And no, we were at his house. And we were drinking. And I told him, all right, I'm going back out to my tent, and I'm going to bed. So as soon as I get out there, I hear him, like, crashing through the woods and, like, all drunk, yelling for me. Didn't have a flashlight, so I get up, I go out there, and I find him, and I bring him back to the tent. And what it was is he wanted to keep hanging out, you know what I mean? So we hung out some more. Well, the next night, we do the same thing. We're drinking, whatever. I tell him I'm going to bed. I walk back out to my tent, lay down, same freaking thing. I hear him crashing through the woods, yelling for me, all that good stuff. So I get up and I go out there and I'm searching for him, and I can't find him anywhere. So I go to his house and I look through the living room window, and he's sleeping on his freaking couch.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had to walk back through the woods to my area after whatever the heck that was.
So they're impersonating your friend then?
Yeah, I was mimicking him, which isn't the first time I've heard something mimic. I've heard my name get called by a friend of mine that was overseas in the military at the time.
See, they're trying to lure you, man. That's usually something like you hear about little trolls and stuff that try to lure people.
Yeah, I seen some weird little thing, and how you say something about troll when I was a kid in those little woods behind my mom's house. Me and my sister and our friend Brianna seen some little skinless, like, it looked like a freaking raccoon, but it was running on its back legs, and it had no skin. I mean, it had no fur, just skin.
Dang, man. Yes, shoot. That's a woods right there a paranormal investigator needs to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy area. I've had friends say when, like our parents and stuff like that, when they were younger, that they've seen, crazy stuff up there. Matt's Uncle John said he's seen a Sasquatch up there. So, there's some stuff going on up there. It's, it's an old area is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, even the rock throwing, when you said they were throwing rocks at you, that sounds squatchy to me. But, Sasquatch could be, something more paranormal than a lot of people want to say,
Yeah, I've heard different theories, like maybe they come from different dimensions and stuff, and that's why we can't find them. But, we don't know what they are. We don't know what God put on this earth. God's got some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, and a lot of times people say, no, they're solid. They've been seen eating and stuff like that. That doesn't mean they're not paranormal. That doesn't
mean nothing.
Yeah, I mean, angels can come here and you can entertain them unaware, and they have bodies and they eat. I mean, manna manna that was given to the children of Israel when they were in the wilderness, that's food from heaven, and we can eat it. You know, a lot of people think it's got to be non-physical. The only thing that's non-physical are the demons. Because that's the spirits that come out of the, you know, the Nephilim when they're killed. You know, like some of the Nephilim in the scriptures, when you kill them, they don't leave this earth. They're not subject to resurrection, so their spirits can wander.
Right.
You know, but they having a body, angels have them, so a Sasquatch could be a fallen being, and have a body and still needs to eat. You know, I guess angels have to eat. They don't not eat.
Yep. The angels were able to have kids with people and stuff. So.
Yeah. You know, even when we go to heaven, we're going to have a wedding supper. There's going to be food there.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff out here we just don't know about.
I've mentioned that so many times, and it seems like some people can't wrap their head around that a supernatural creature could have a physical body. But Apostle Paul said there's different kinds of flesh. He said there's flesh to fish and flesh to beast and terrestrial flesh and celestial flesh. He said, but the glory is different. So, you know, that's one way that a solid being, the glory being different, they're able to walk through the wall, but also able to grab a person because they have a solid body. Because I mean, when I was a little kid, that devil entity that reached out of the wall, he was able to pass through that wall, but he was still grabbed me and was lifting me up on my tiptoes, pulling me toward the wall. So, you know,
terrifying.
He had a body. I sat there and looked at his fingernails and his cuticles because he had a hold of my wrist, and I was trying to pull against him, so I was real close to his hand, you know. And I was mesmerized by him because it was red, but it was like it was red because it had a light emitting from the inside, and it was shining through the skin, kind of like when you put your hand on a flashlight and it turns your fingers orangish red.
Oh yeah,
that's what the whole creature looked like, and it had curled ram horns and, you know, and a goatee. Typical devil creature, man. It was a scary deal, man.
That wouldn't be fun at all.
No, and I was 5 when that happened, and I was terrified of bedtime every night, man. It was time to go to bed and had to turn the lights off. It was freaked me out, and I would never sleep near a wall. I can tell you that. My grandma was like, I always wondered why when you came to stay with us during the summer, you never would sleep near the wall. Cause I'd scoot my bed out, you know. And she was wondering why does he scoot that bed out?
Yeah, I still sleep with my my bed on the floor. I don't have a bed frame because I don't feel like getting pulled under the bed.
Yeah. They had to pull you between the mattresses and the box spring, wouldn't
they? Yeah. Yeah, it would suck.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a lot of different crazy encounters, man.
Yeah, I've had some crazy encounters. You know, I don't know exactly why I've been allowed to see some of the stuff that I've been seeing, but I feel pretty privileged to see what I've seen over the years.
Yeah, well, it sounds like part of the reason is that you live in an area where there's something going on. You know, to have a snow circle in the woods. And, you know, I don't know what it is about woods, but you hear, you know, a lot of folklore and stuff about, you know, haunted woods and stuff, and like some of the English and British kind of stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out in the woods where, you know, people don't get to see what you're doing. You can do whatever you want.
All right. Huh. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories there. And if you ever have anything else you want to tell, you just shoot me an email or something. And this is a Skype number, so I probably would never hear if you called this unless I was on it, you know. But shoot me an email at brentonsawin@gmail.com. It's in the description of most every video. Okay. Sounds good, brother. God bless you.
All right. God bless you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.